Hi, okay, so this is my fourth reflection, and I'm going to be talking about my lesson that I did with my kindergarten class over geometry, but more specifically over squares and rectangles. Um, the challenges that I faced during the preparation part of this lesson were I think I just wanted to put so much into it as far as shapes go because I have a problem with math because I love it too much. Um, During the lesson, I made sure that the students understood we did a warm up section, and I made sure to reiterate multiple times that squares are rectangles and rectangles are not squares. And the students really seemed to grasp that. Some of them kind of it was kind of tricky for them, but for the most part, they really got that. And then later in some of the situations, the kids would be like, I would ask them, I would show them a mixture of rectangles and squares and other shapes, and I would be like, all right, which ones are rectangles? And they would point to the rectangles, and then one kid would be like, hey, the square is a rectangle because he remembered. Um, so that was pretty fun. When I was implementing the lesson, I guess the only challenge I really faced was getting a kindergarten class to stay focused because it's a bunch of 5-year-olds, and I don't know, they're so silly. They're fun, but I think that was really the only thing. And then I guess explaining to them the difference between why a square is a rectangle, but why a rectangle isn't a square. Um, there were one or two of them that did have difficulty with that, and I guess that was a challenge. But their friends helped them, and they seemed to figure it out. Um, so in the lesson, we went over that. We did a warm up concerning squares and squares and rectangles, and then as a hands-on activity, I had them either get a square or a rectangle and think of something they see in everyday life and draw that on like using the shape that they're given. And here is an example of that. So it's hard to see, but this is my square, and I meant to make the bus a lot shorter, but then I got too caught up in drawing a bus. But and I pointed out to the students that these are squares and that the doors are a rectangle and that we see these shapes every day. And I asked students what shape this was, and most of them said a stop sign, which they're not wrong, but that's not a shape. And then they knew that this was supposed to be a circle. So they did pretty well with shapes as far as I'm concerned. As far as how was learning affected by your planning and teaching? The students really enjoy hands-on activities, and they really like whenever you teach them something new, they like yelling it out at you. They like knowing the answer. After you teach them that, they just get so happy that they knew what you were talking about. And so I think telling them the difference between figuring out if a square was a rectangle or not, that was something that really affected them. They like knowing the answer. They like critical thinking, and some people would think that that's too difficult for kindergarten, but they really grasp it, and yeah, they did really well with shapes. So.